Raynaud's disease. Let's talk about that. Let's get cracking. Good moto morning, beautiful people. Welcome to Kraken's Garage. I'm your host, Eric, and on today's episode, we're going to talk about Raynaud's disease. It's an unusual topic that actually affects a lot of riders that you maybe don't know about. And it has been problematic for me my entire riding career. So let's get to the video. So have you ever been riding and even in cool weather, cold seems to trigger Raynaud's disease the most. Your fingers turn white or blue, and then when you start to get the feeling back in them, they usually turn bright red. And that is definitely what is going on with your body. You can have heated hand grips, you can have heated gloves, and it will still trigger every single time for some people. And we'll talk about how you got this, what can you do to combat the discomfort that you're having, and your situational awareness for understanding how you could be putting yourself in harm's way, not being able to operate the bike properly when you have this condition as you're trying to motor on down the road. So what triggers Raynaud's disease? Cold, stress, smoking, repetitive movements, certain medicines such as beta blockers, migraine medicine, birth control pills, and others. Also can be from injury. Let's say you bailed off the bike and smashed your hand up and it's healed up now. You may all of a sudden have this issue going on now. And believe it or not, emotions. So if you're angry and upset, it can actually trigger this issue as well. It not only affects your hands, but in a lot of people, it also affects their feet and toes. The most frequent triggers of this disease is cold or stress, to be honest. And during an attack, blood vessels suddenly narrow, called vasospasm. This most often happens in fingers and toes. In rare cases, the nose, ears, even your tongue can be affected. Narrow blood vessels reduce the blood supply to the area. The area then turns white, blue, or red. The area may feel tingling, numb, or painful. As the attack passes, the blood vessels open. The affected area may turn bright red as it warms up, then turns to normal color. So those are the symptoms. Let's talk about what is the cause of Raynaud's disease. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of it, but that's my understanding at this time. It's believed that the blood vessels in the affected areas respond too strongly to certain triggers, such as cold. This makes them narrow, called vasospasm, much more than in people without the disease. Experts don't know what causes the blood vessels to react so strongly to certain triggers. In between attacks, the blood vessels are normal and healthy. Attacks don't permanently damage the blood vessels, but they may thicken the artery walls. In some cases, Raynaud's disease happens along with other diseases and conditions. This is often a connective tissue disorder, such as lupus, scleroderma, rheumatoid arthritis. This is called a secondary Raynaud's disease as opposed to a primary Raynaud's disease, and may be more severe. In this case, for you and your healthcare provider can discuss treatment for the underlying conditions. What are the risk factors? Women are more likely to get Raynaud's disease than men. Younger people are at higher risk, usually ages 15 to 30. Living in colder climates increases risk. Having a family member with Raynaud's disease increases your risk as well. So that implies that it might be hereditary. Again, they don't know a whole lot about it. Underlying rheumatoid conditions may increase your risk. How is Raynaud's disease diagnosed? Your description of your symptoms, a health history, and a physical exam are often enough for a diagnosis. Blood tests and other tests may be done to see if any underlying conditions are present and rule out any other problems that might be adding to this issue. How is Raynaud's disease treated? There is no known cure for Raynaud's disease, but you can learn to manage the symptoms and reduce the number and severity of attacks. For most people, avoiding triggers may be enough to limit attacks. Your healthcare provider may suggest the following. Take safety steps to help prevent your hands and feet from losing circulation. This includes dressing warmly in cold conditions, wearing gloves or mittens when your hands may become cold, such as when you use a refrigerator or freezer, Avoid stress and caffeine. Exercise regularly. That helps keep your blood flowing. This may reduce the number of severity of attacks. If you smoke, quitting may improve the condition. Smoking causes your blood vessels to narrow and reduces blood flow. And yes, that includes cigar smokers out there as well. Soak your hands or feet in warm water, not hot water. Do this at the first sign of an attack. Keep soaking until your skin color returns to normal. So how does this attack me when I'm going down the road? Right now, it's probably in the mid-40s today, and I can go for a ride. I guarantee you the issue will happen. And my fingers start turning white, and I start to lose my dexterity. On a bad day, when I'm riding, and I have a long ways to go in very, very cold weather, and I have an attack, my hands get so numb and so painful. When I pull over to warm them up, sticking my hands in warm water is not going to happen in a gas station when I'm on a trip or something like that. But what I do is keep my gloves on, and I put my hands on the motor of the motorcycle to warm them up. It usually takes me a solid 20 minutes to get the feelings back in my hand. If ignored when this is happening to you, it will get quite severe. And I've had it so bad sometimes when I pull over, I could not use the dexterity of my hands to turn the key off on the ignition. I had to hold my hands together and turn the key. It was that bad. So just be aware. Now, as I stated when I was sharing this article with you, there is no known cure. Just be aware of what's going on with your body. A lot of people that ride sports bikes that are hunched over on their riding on the heels of their hands because you have a leaned over position will have this symptom or attack hit them, and they say, well, it's just because I'm riding a sport bike and putting all that stress on my wrist. It's not necessarily so. A lot of times it is Raynaud disease. Moving forward, hopefully I taught you something about your body and how to mitigate these circumstances when these attacks happen. Just an FYI and a public service announcement for riders to keep you in the know so you know what's going on. Being in touch with your body and your physical well-being as you're going down the road is so bloody important. Please pay attention to your body when it's telling you, cool it. You need to pull over and deal with an issue. And this would be one of those that I highly recommend that you address when it happens. Let me know in the comments down below if you have ever had this symptom and if it has pestered you as much as it has pestered me my entire life. And there's my ghost dog Bourbon. He's here to remind me to wrap up this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. If you want to see more in the future, just hit that subscribe button right down there in the corner. And remember, folks, go riding. It's good for you, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Here's a fresh soda out of the refrigerator, and I'll hold it here for a few seconds. And kind of grip it tightly like I'm gripping the grips on my handlebars. And within seconds, my hands start turning white. It's crazy, isn't it?